The experts have it wrong. You do not need to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go for a run, go lift weights, go to the sauna, get a cold plunge, and then make breakfast and eat 42 grams of protein before 4:30 in the morning. You just need to focus on the first 60 minutes, no matter what time it is.
This is a 14-day morning routine challenge for a successful life, and there will be simple habits that you can implement right away to set you up for a day of success. So what does your morning look like? Do you have a morning routine already? If you're saying no, let me correct you. Yes, you do. You do already have a morning routine, whether you think you do or not. If you were to look back at the last week of your life and what you did at the first hour in the morning, the first 60 minutes of the morning, you would likely see that you do the very same things every single day and probably the very same order every single day. That is your morning routine. But the question is, are you setting yourself up for a day of success? So we want to help you with this 14-day challenge to set a new morning routine, to evaluate the routine that you have, and make sure that you've got the routine to set you up for a day of success. So you said we don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I like that, but the experts tell us that we need to.
You don't get up that early, and you've been pretty successful. So what? Tell us why.
Well, indeed. And when I was trying to get a morning routine figured out for myself, and I love to learn and grow, I love to follow experts on what are the best way to do things to live my most intentional life. And when I was doing research, I was reading a lot about that said successful entrepreneurs get up really early in the morning. Well, like you said, I've been a successful entrepreneur, you are a successful entrepreneur, and we don't get up at the crack of dawn. And let me tell you that I tried this because we were told that this is what you need to be this is what you need to do to be successful. So I actually had, at one point in our job, I was sitting on the board of the hospital board, and they set the meetings. Of course, you show up when the meetings are. We had a 7 a.m. morning. And for me, I'm not an early morning person. I'm just not wired that way. But I thought, all right, I can do this. And I'd set my alarm and I would get up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and I would make my way to that meeting, and I would show up at 7. And no matter how many times I did it, I was not full of energy and ready to go until after that meeting was done. And what I learned about myself is I am a morning person, as most of us are, but I'm not an early morning person. And so it's important as you establish your morning routine is to look at what sets you up for a day of success in those first 60 minutes of the day. And you may be someone who likes to get up really early and exercise first thing in the morning. Another thing that the gurus say is a sign of a successful person. Well, I don't like to exercise first thing in the morning. My energy doesn't match that. So my morning routine looks very different. But if that's what you would like to do first thing in the morning, then more power to you. And that's really what we're trying to talk about here is we want to have you do a morning routine that works for you. So let's share a little bit about what morning routine has worked for you and what works for me, because ours look very different. And we can give you some tips to create some simple habits to look at what sets you up for a day of success.
Yeah, I think it needs to be customizable. It needs to fit into, do you have kids? Are they at home? Do you need to make their breakfast? Do you need to change their diaper? Are you empty nesters and you have all the time in the world? What is it that you need, and how many hours are you working? What's it look like? For me, when I'm successful in the morning, I get up and I exercise, and I'll go for a run, and then I'll come back. I'll have 14 cups of coffee, and then I'll read my daily devotional while I'm reading, and I'll drink the coffee, and then I create my list for the day. What doesn't work for me, which is kind of the routine I'm in right now, is I chase fires. I get up, I don't go to my phone. I'm really good about not touching my phone, but I get up and I go to my office directly, and because we have a lot of things going on in various time zones, there's a fire going on somewhere, and I end up chasing it. And that just sets me off on a different tangent until really your morning routine's over. And then we come forward. And we move forward from there. So the morning routine for me is put out all the fires and wait for your morning routine to be over.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about what I've done to set my day up for success. And let me tell you, once I did this and I became very intentional about what my mornings look like, it was life transforming, and it can be for you too. But before I tell you what that is, I want you to take a look at your own morning routine right now. So I want you to take a moment and think to the last week and ask yourself, what are the things that you do every single morning in the order that you do them? Think about that. What do you do when you first get out of bed? Do you get out of bed and grab your phone right away? Do you get out of bed and get up and shower? Do you go make a cup of coffee? Do you get up and make your kids' lunches? What does that look like for you? And I know for a lot of busy entrepreneurs, they don't have it. They don't have time for a morning routine. They are rushing around like crazy in the morning. They really aren't being intentional about how they want to start their day. And they're rushing out the door with a cup of coffee and heading off to work. And like you said, just immediately starting to put out the fires for the day. So I've been very intentional about my morning routine and the first 60 minutes, and I've divided it into 3 parts. And I talk about this in my book, The Success Lie. So the first 20 minutes of my day, of my hour, is really set in quiet time. And this is so critical to start your day off right. It's so critical to a day of success, is to not start the day by jumping out of bed and jumping into the first fire of the day, but really being able to set your heart and your mind straight with a quiet time first. So I typically do a 20 or 30 minute meditation or prayer time, just a time that I am sitting quietly and just observing what's going on in my body, in my mind, what am I thinking about, and really dedicating my day to God, dedicating my day. I want to live every day honor and glorifying Him. And so how do I set up my day so that it's going to be a best day? I set it up with a quiet time where I'm in meditation and prayer. The second thing that I do is I take some time for gratitude in this next 20-minute segment of my day. And the second part of my morning routine is I take time for gratitude, where I'm thinking about what are 3 things that I'm grateful for today. And some days that's really easy to think about things that I'm grateful for. And other times it can be really challenging. I mean, we have been facing some hardships lately, and it's hard when you wake out of bed in the morning. Sometimes you've woken up from a restless sleep and you immediately begin to think about those things that are difficulties in your family, in your business, maybe in the lives of friends. And your mind immediately goes there. But if instead you can focus on what's going well, it makes such a difference. I was just talking actually to a good friend this afternoon who's going through a very difficult family challenge with a child that is ill and has just really been struggling. And I listened and we spent time on just talking about what wasn't going well. And then I asked her, but what's happened that's been good since the last time that we talked? What, if anything, has changed that's good that you can be grateful for? And she was able to dig deep and to bring out some things that were going better, and talked about a medication that was actually working, that was making a difference. She was talking about her daughter being able to be more physically active than she was before. She was talked about some other good news that they had received. Despite all of the challenges going on, even in a really difficult situation, she was able to grasp what she could be grateful for in the situation. So really important. As the second part of that piece is just taking some time to journal thoughts, what I'm grateful for, journaling my thoughts out, anything that comes to mind or that I'm working on, and then also doing some inspirational reading. Every morning, I'm reading something that sets me up for success. So rather starting out the day reading the news or emails or things like that, my first hour of my day, I am reading things that lift me up and that set me up for positivity and a day of excellence. So this is a devotional that helps me to really get centered and grounded and get my heart in the right place for the day. I also have an inspirational book, a self-help book, some type of business growth or personal growth book that I'm reading that really gets my mind thinking about things that I can do intentionally to make things better and to learn and grow. And so that is part of my morning routine. And then finally, the third piece is really looking at what do I need to do today? And you talked about this in your routine as well. And I take the last portion, the last 20 minutes to really make my plan for the day. I look at what are my top 3 priorities of the day? What do I most need to focus on? What do I need to talk to my team about? And I set that up when I start my day. That way, when I get to my office, I am not immediately jumping into the first fire, but I keep in front of me what my most important priorities are. And that's decided before I jump into the fires. So having a morning routine like that really has helped me a lot in setting me up for a day of success.
I'm kind of like Tigger. I bound out of bed and I'm just jumpy and ready to go. So it's hard for me to sit still like that.
Mm-hmm. But it would be good for you to do it.
I do it better at night. Mm-hmm. So some of the things you mentioned, I actually use in my night routine, which
is great.
But so mine is far more simple and yours is very intentional. But the biggest thing and the biggest takeaway from that is the first 60 minutes matters.
Mm-hmm. It really matters in order to set yourself up for a day of success. Those first 60 minutes matter so much. So what are you doing in your first 60 minutes now? And then taking a look at that list, is everything on that list building you up for the day ahead? Or are there things that you're doing that are really tearing you down? Are there things that are doing that are pulling you into a negative mindset? And that's something that's important to look at changing.
Right.
So what are some ideas of some things that we do or that some of our clients that we've helped them do that are positive things to do at the beginning of your day? You have some ideas that we can share?
Well, the first thing I think you need to do is wake up and then...
You can be very grateful for that.
And be grateful that you are waking up. Mm-hmm. And then put your feet on the ground and then just kind of, if you can, go outside barefoot and just be in nature.
That's a good one.
And just for a few seconds even. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be long.
Right. Well, it really helps your circadian rhythm to get out in nature. And when the light is bright in the morning, to actually get outside for a few minutes, put your face, your skin in the sun. If you can, put your feet in the grass, and it definitely taking time to ground is really helpful. And that gets you waking up too.
Yeah. So the light is important as well as the ground if you can, depending on where you live. And another is hydrate. Drink lots of water. And, I do it in the form of coffee and water, both.
Right.
But you have your own routine for that.
Mm-hmm. And water is super important in the morning. And I actually had a client of ours who gave me the helpful hint, hey, when I get up in the morning, the first thing that I do is I drink a big glass of water every morning right when I get up. And then that way you're already getting some hydration first thing. And it just has become part of his morning routine, which is really easy. And he does it right after he brushes his teeth. And it's a great way to start the day. And I've adopted that. You've adopted that. We both have a lot of water first thing in the morning and then drink water throughout the day. But definitely that's
And you add lemon to yours. So.
I do.
Yep.
Lemon and a little really good salt.
And then meditate in prayer. Yes. Another one. So
right. So good. Some helpful hints is always schedule time for yourself first. And this can be really hard. I know I've had some of my clients who are working moms and have young children. And they say, well, my kids are getting up really early and they take my attention immediately first thing in the morning. And so I just don't have time. I kind of get in time for myself when I can. Well, I've been there too. And our kids are grown now. But when my kids were small, I just needed to get up ahead of them, even if it was just for a few minutes. And what we share with the clients that we coach is even if your morning routine, that quiet time that I talked about, is 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes that you're giving to yourself that you weren't before. So make sure to find some time that you can focus on yourself first, because if you're not filling your own cup, as we've talked about many times, then you're not as capable of helping others.
Yeah, and I think it could be that you get the 20 minutes before the kids, and then you get another 20 minutes in the car after you drop the kids off at school, and maybe you sit at your desk, and do it for another 20.
Right.
You can break it up. It doesn't need to be right away if you truly don't have the time and the availability to do it. So,
and in your morning routine, another idea is, and this is what's important to you, add an activity in your morning routine that inspires you and motivates you for the day. So whether that's you have your favorite music that you want to listen to in the morning, or maybe meditating for you or doing yoga in the morning is something that inspires you. And as I talked about, reading an inspirational book or a devotional, something like that, but doing something that lights you up in the morning.
exercise could be that. It could be you get those
Absolutely.
endorphins going. You get outside, maybe you run with friends, so you have community. So that could be part of that as well. So, and with all of this, we need to fuel our bodies.
Oh, definitely.
I know there's all this talk, and I do it sometimes, and I'm mixing up whether I eat or I don't eat. But the problem is we really need to, personally, I think we need to focus on our protein right now anyway. And JJ version says protein first,
Right.
and eat your body weight. And so the only way I can get even remotely close is to fuel in the morning. So that's part of my morning routine, is making sure I get a good breakfast.
Right, right. And that's definitely a helpful hint for starting your day off right. It just gets your body fueled to go off and have a productive day, and just make sure that you're not running off just with a cup of coffee or coffee and a donut or something that's unhealthy like that. Put that first food in your body for the day that's really going to fuel you and give you some energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on how much time you have, a couple of other options would be a cold plunge and a sauna. I know that you love the sauna in the morning.
Right.
And so that's a great way for you to start. You're relaxed. You can do your quiet time in the sauna. So you can get two things done in there if you want.
Right. And another helpful hint is keep away from your electronics for the first 60 minutes if you can. Don't have your electronics be part of your morning routine. If there's any way possible, do your morning routine, your morning success ritual for yourself before going into your electronics. And a story I share in my book is about getting up in the morning, and the first thing that most people do, 80% of people, the first thing that they do is they grab their smartphone and they look at either their emails or their texts, and that's the first thing that they do. Well, imagine you're not even awake yet and you're getting an email from an unhappy client. I mean, that's not going to set you up for a day of success. So back to that first helpful hint about make sure that your morning routine is about you and time with you and for you before you're bringing others into the picture. So by having your phone or electronic device, your iPad, whatever it may be, in front of you first thing in the morning, you're immediately bringing others into the picture. You're bringing people who are maybe talking about the news into your life. You're bringing clients into your life and family members and other people who want your attention, and you can give that to them, just not in that first part of the day.
Right. You're just taking on their to-do list.
Right.
So don't do that.
Before you've had time.
Before you had time to even create your own, which is part of the morning routine, is plan your day out. And don't take on other people's to-do list first thing in the morning. Create your own.
Right.
So I think that also another thing you can do is make your bed. You're really good at it. So I'd hate to take that job away from you. I mean, you could tighten the corners, a little hospital corner, maybe.
Oh, yeah, fine. I think
Drop
that
a
you can
corner,
help.
drop a quarter on the bed.
I think that you can help. So we want to give you a challenge for the next 14 days, and that is to do a morning routine adjustment and make your morning routine something that is a good one for you to start your day with, one that's going to set you up for a day of success. So evaluate what your morning routine looks like now by looking back at the last week, and then look ahead. What tweaks do you want to make? What are the things that you want to do in your morning routine? And write them down so that you have a list of what you're going to do each morning to set yourself up for a day of success. So go ahead and number them. What's the first thing you're going to do? The second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. And you're going to do that every single morning for the next 14 days. This is a simple habit that once you get into this routine, it's going to be just as easy as getting up every morning and brushing your teeth, that I hope that you do and I do. That's already part of your morning routine.
Oh, shoot.
So the rest of this routine, my friend, can be just as simple of a habit as brushing your teeth every morning.